Good morning, good morning to you all. To God be all the glory. Just giving God thanks again for waking us up on this Sunday, allowing us to see a day which we all have never seen before. Thanking Him for His goodness, His mercy, His favor, and His grace. Thanking Him for His protection over our lives as we slept and we slumbered last night. Thanking Him for our loved ones, each and every last one of them as they travel this day to worship or wherever they may want to go, that the Lord will give them traveling mercy and traveling grace. We're going to go into our Father's Prayer. Then I am going to try to sing this hymn called Leaning on the Everlasting Arm. And we are going to read the scripture. I mean, of course, we're going to read a scripture as well. We're going to come from the book of Proverbs 3 from the New International Version. Just hang in there with me, follow me. I'm going to allow you to get your Bible so you can follow me in the scriptures this morning. We always want to continue to keep God first ahead of our lives before we start our day, because we know that each and every day we are going to be challenged by something, and we always want to be ready and we want to be prepared. So whenever things come to attack us, that we will know how to stand against our adversary. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day, Lord, our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, Lord, but deliver us from evil. For thy you are the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I'm going to start reading and singing a hymn called Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. If you're familiar with this, let it fall like grace on your heart. It says, what a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace of mind, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arm. I have peace complete with my Lord so dear, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning on the everlasting arm. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, yes, I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. I messed that up at the end, but that's okay. Amen, amen, amen. This is a song, we keep a song on our heart, praise in our spirit. And the topic today, we're going to be talking about how you got to look at the signs of danger in our young people and how it's so important that we teach them on their path, on the right path they should go. It's so important that as parents, when we choose that path in life to become parents, we are to train them up in the Word of God. Lean not on your own understanding, but train them up in the admonition of the Lord. So important to you young mothers out there. So important to you grandmothers out there. So important to our community. So important to the village. So important for us to build a strong nation of children and then for them to be broken men. So important. This is so sad. Another story of a young girl whose life was cut short for manipulations, for lies, being deceitful. And the world can't see all of that. The world just see her as being young and a mother and everything. But I wanted to go into the reason how come these things happen to our young people. We promote too much of these young girls going out here, getting pregnant, just for the moment. This is not something that should be praised. This is not something that should be always supported without getting the right counsel from the community, from your elders, the discipline from your elders, and the structure, and listening to what we have to tell you, what's ahead of your life. This young girl did not have that I could tell right now, she did not have that foundation. Because if she did, she would have still been here with us. Let me go into the Psalms. Go into the scriptures. I'm going to read from the book of Proverbs, and I'm going to read um, chapter 3, and I'm going to read that entire scripture. And the name of the scripture that I'm going to be reading is Wisdom Bestows Well-Being. Follow me if you have your scriptures with you. I'm reading from the New International Version. My son, do not forget my teachings, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves. As a father, the son he delights in. Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Those who hold her fast will be blessed. By wisdom, the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding, he set the heavens in place. By his knowledge, the watery depths were divided, and the clouds let drop the dew. My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck. Then you will go on your path in safety, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked. For the Lord will be at your side and will keep your foot from being snared. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not stay to your neighbor. Come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you when you already have it with you. Do not plot harm against your neighbor who lives trustfully near you. Do not accuse anyone for no reason when they have done you no harm. Do not envy the violent or choose any of their ways. For the Lord detests the perverse, but takes the upright into his confidence. The Lord's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks proud mockers, but show favor to the humble and oppressed. The wise inherit honor, but fools get only shame. Those are the words speaking in Proverbs 3. Um, it's very important that you do have wisdom. And the thing is that when you listen to your mother as she teaches you along the way, especially when she has her son, it's so important that a man is taught on his path, a male child, how to choose wise and not foolish, not to be um, actually deceived or to get involved with an evil woman to bear his fruit. And that means life. You know, the womb that you choose as a young man is very important to your life. Um, Faithful, it says, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and a man. Trust in the Lord with your heart and lean not on your own understanding. You know, men are always attracted to physical things. But you also got to be aware of the other things that comes along with this womb that you decide that you're going to lay down with and have a child with. If she's loose, fast, and she likes to present herself in a way where sort of like deceitful, she shows her body to every man, she cocking her legs out there to every man. She's so vain. She's caught up in all her physical attraction to you or whatever. That's not wise. That wouldn't give you a good life. That wouldn't give you a good future. That's only a temporary thing. You have to understand that it's important for young people. And I tell this to my nephew, who I basically raised. He still hasn't gotten married. He's 27 years old and he's still home with mama. But still in all, I'm glad he's there. He's not doing anything wrong. He's not out, he's not thugging out. He's not on the street. He's a student. I mean, not a student, but he works. He has a job. And that's a good thing. And I worry about him a lot. He's an introvert. He doesn't really mess around. He doesn't have plenty of friends around him, but I believe there's a lot of wisdom in him. But he's a silent person, and that's the kind of scary thing about it too. But I pray for my nephew. I raised him from a baby. I mean, along with my sister, I co-parent with her. More likely while she was completing her education, and she was just trying to do things to take care of herself and her child. I was also her backbone and her help behind raising her son. So I'm glad of my work that I've done so far. He's doing very well. I've helped raise most of the children in my family. Not all, but the boys. I mostly dealt with my boy children in my family than I dealt with my female children, because females are too catty, and whatever man they get, what that man is in their head, and they will fight you tooth and nail, and I just didn't want to deal with the drama. But my boys, they listen. They may not agree with everything I say to them, but one thing about my boys is they listen to their auntie. They listen to me, and I thank God for that. I thank God so much for that. And so far, I had lost one nephew, my firstborn nephew, because he chose those kind of friends and those kind of people that he wanted to try to save, and it ended up costing him his life. And it was a heartbreaking thing for me, but it happened the way it happened. And you know and his life being a sacrifice to the other young people in this family, because he was the oldest. He was my firstborn nephew, so he did get a lot of help from the family, a lot of support, that he did not have to choose that route. I mean, he chose the Lord in the end, but I'm saying, like, you know he needed to get away from those being surrounded by these people, being around these people. You say what you say. You doing something. Get out of the crowd. Don't stay there. Don't stay there. Anyway, we didn't even want him to continue his education here in the United States. We wanted him to study abroad, but he chose back to come to the U.S. and he wanted to be in the hood. You know what I'm saying? In the hood. But anyway, let's go into this video here about this young girl. Her name was Ikea Hood. She's a young 17-year-old mother, and her life ended tragically by the hands of a young man that she deceived. So let's go into the video. I'm gonna call him Mick Marie. Not funny. I like that better. This boy be in my DM say I'm pretty. This boy be in my DM say I'm pretty. Baby, worried about me, it ain't gonna get you nowhere. It ain't. Cause what I'm worried about is dancing, being me, and getting that money, no cap. Police say this 17-year-old girl was killed by her 17-year-old boyfriend just 3 weeks after she gave birth. I rolled her over. She was laying on her side. I rolled her over. A quiet January morning on Grambling Drive in Dallas. The kind of ordinary Sunday where nothing special happens until a sound cuts through the silence. A single gunshot. Inside that house, a mother rushes toward her daughter's bedroom, heart racing as she finds the door locked. The window screen lies bent and broken on the ground outside. When she finally gets in, she discovers what no parent should ever see. Her 17-year-old daughter, Ikea Hood, motionless on the floor. Just feet away, a 3-week-old baby girl lies unharmed in her crib. A newborn who will never know her mother. What could drive someone to take the life of a high school junior? A dedicated dancer? A new mom with everything to live for? A future stolen. At just 17 years old, Ikea Hood had everything. Wait, I hate to stop this, but you could just tell who at the eulogy of someone's life is how the funeral is being presented. If you ever look at a funeral, you can tell the life the person lived, then right then and there, from the way the people show up and how they lay you to rest in the end. You can tell a person's story by how they are laid to rest. And you can see in this, from how her funeral was being presented, that this young lady did not know the Lord. Nobody was giving her any direction. She was being taught the things of the world, not of the kingdom things, but she was taught of what she's just living her life in a way where she was basically on her own understanding. Nobody was giving her direction. This is sad, y'all, but let's go on. Ahead of her, a bright student, a talented dancer with dreams stretching years into the future, and most beautifully, a brand new mother. Her home on Grambling Drive in Dallas should have been a sanctuary, filled with the promise and joy of her newborn daughter, Icelyn.
Instead, it became the final resting place for a young life, overflowing with potential. But even the most joyful beginnings can hide troubling currents. Ikea was caught in an on-again, off-again relationship marked by volatility. This was not a random act of violence. It was the devastating outcome of a dangerous pattern, a stark illustration of the perils that can exist in relationships, particularly for young people navigating complex emotions and power dynamics. It forces us to look closely at the spaces we believe are safe. Have you ever watched someone you care about change because of who they're with, noticing tensions or isolating behaviors that felt deeply concerning? Does the idea of such a profound tragedy striking a teenager, a new parent, leave you unsettled and searching for understanding? This isn't just about the events of one terrible morning. It's about the history that led up to it. It compels us to ask the crucial question: what hidden dangers were present in Ikea's life? And how did they lead to the ultimate act of...
Me personally, I don't like the balloons being released like that. I have done it for my mother one year. I did try it, but then I thought about what these, what can happen releasing all those balloons in the air. When there's a plane in the air, it could get caught on the pallet of the plane. It could get caught on the pallet of the plane, and that can also cause planes to go into a plane crash. You understand? So you got to be very, see, these things you think is cute and everything of the world, but you're not thinking that planes are up there. People are traveling in the air. And by you releasing those balloons, those strings and everything could get all jammed up inside that pallet. And that plane could go into a crash. So that's why they say they don't do, I don't know every state, but I know here where I'm at, in the state that I live in, we cannot do that. If they find you doing that, you will be arrested. If they find you releasing balloons in the air, it's best that you could put the balloons, set the balloons there, and then after a while or whatever, pop those balloons. Okay, that is a very dangerous thing to do, and this is what the world does without taking any precaution of things that it can cause. Now, what happened to a funeral where they just have the funeral procession for the child? They have it in a church funeral or in the funeral home, and people can light a candle or do a virtual like that. But the balloon releasing thing can be very dangerous because there is air traffic, planes, and this can cause an accident. And then on top of that, the way he had her casket all painted up and all beautified, all that money on that. Just get a regular casket, lay the person in the casket if you want to lay their remains there. But actually, her grave is where her body was found. That's the grave. But this is where they want to lay down and rest of her remains, her shell, whatever, her corpse. But you can have a regular funeral and give the family her eulogy, her story, and people that knew her for her 17 years of life, which is very short, for some of the foolish choices that she made. But let's go on with the video.
Violence in her own home. How did a journey filled with such light collide so tragically with the actions of someone meant to care for her? Uncovering the truth behind that
Wait. Is her shirt saying, look at already, she marked this
a
lady?
newborn who will never know her mother. What could drive someone to take the life of a high school junior? A dedicated dancer? A new mom with everything to live for? A future stolen. At just 17 years old, Ikea Hood had everything ahead of her. A bright student, a talented dancer with dreams stretching years into the future, and most beautifully, a brand new mother. Her home on Grambling Drive in Dallas should have been a sanctuary, filled with the promise and joy of her newborn daughter, Icelyn. Instead, it became the final resting place for a young life, overflowing with potential. But even the most joyful beginnings can hide troubling currents. Ikea was caught in an on-again, off-again relationship marked by volatility. This was not a random act of violence. It was the devastating outcome of a dangerous pattern, a stark illustration of the perils that can exist in relationships, particularly for young people navigating complex emotions and
Good
power
morning,
dynamics.
Frankie. Good morning,
It
everyone
forces
in the
us to look
chat.
closely at the spaces we believe are safe. Have you ever watched someone you care about change because of who they're with, noticing tensions or isolating behaviors that felt deeply concerning? Does the idea of such a profound tragedy striking a teenager, a new parent, leave you unsettled and searching for understanding? This isn't just about the events of one terrible morning. It's about the history that led up to it. It compels us to ask the crucial question: what hidden dangers were present in Ikea's life? And how did they lead to the ultimate act of violence in her own home? How did a journey filled with such light
I'm
collide
in
so
Miami,
tragically
right
with the
there. There
actions
we
of
go.
some?
I'm in Miami with the word, and here's her belly. Here's her belly. And this is what she writes on a t-shirt and carrying an unborn child. That vulgar shirt that you're wearing with a newborn, unborn in your stomach. You already speaking something evil and ugly into the unborn innocent baby's life, because she doesn't know any better, because her mind has not developed maturely yet. She's still a baby herself. She's having a baby, and in her mind, she's still a child. You see what I'm saying? Who would wear such a shirt with your belly, and you an expecting mother, and you already speaking into that child's existence? You see how you already speaking? You could see it. Look, I'm in Miami with the B word. Already cursed your child. Let's go on.
One meant to care for her. Uncovering the truth behind that day means examining the relationship's difficult past, the critical events that immediately preceded the crime, the relentless search for answers, and the pursuit of justice that followed. This case holds difficult but essential lessons.
And you can see that this young man has no direction himself. You know, he doesn't even have any guidance himself. Two unguided young people. Let's go on.
Recognizing warning signs that are often missed. Consider this. Could you spot the indicators that a relationship is turning controlling or dangerous? Would you know how to support someone trying to leave a potentially abusive situation? By sharing these real experiences, we aim to shine a light on these issues and perhaps help someone before it's too late. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in for this thrilling true crime story. As a member of the true crime story community, I'd love to know where you're watching this video from. Let me know in the comments. Don't hesitate to join the conversation too. Your thoughts and input are a vital part of this story. Welcome to Mind Twist True Crime Stories, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn on the notification bell icon. Dallas, Texas serves as the setting for this heartbreaking story. A major metropolitan hub in North Texas, Dallas is known for its dynamic economy, particularly in sectors like technology and finance, its significant role as a transportation center, and its rich cultural scene encompassing arts, sports, and diverse culinary experiences. However, like many large cities, Dallas faces challenges, including crime. While recent data from 2024 indicated a notable decrease in overall violent crime and homicides compared to the previous year, bringing murder rates to their lowest point since before the pandemic, the city still contends with significant levels of crime against persons. To understand the loss, we must first know the life. Ikea Hood was 17 years old, residing in southeast Oak Cliff, Dallas, part of a large and close-knit family. Her mother, Tequoia Lester, stood as a central figure, a source of support who would later face unimaginable circumstances. Ikea was a junior at Lancaster High School, fully engaged in the world around her. Her energy found its focus in dance. She was a committed member of the school's Tigerette drill team, showcasing her talent and dedication. Her passion extended beyond the school halls. Since 2019, she had been part of the Next Level community dance group in Dallas. Here, her instructor, Nairi Preston, formed a deep bond, viewing Ikea as a dance daughter. Miss Preston remembered a young woman who was spirited, always ready with a smile or a laugh, and who approached her craft with diligence and a strong desire to learn. Ikea carried genuine aspirations, dreams of continuing her dance journey at the collegiate level, a path that held so much promise. Beyond her pursuits, Ikea possessed a presence that drew people in. Her family described her as full of life, someone who could light up a room, easily becoming the heart of any gathering. Those in her community saw her as a bright influence who connected with many. This impact was evident in the initial outpouring of grief and remembrance. The most recent, and perhaps most joyful chapter in Ikea's young life had just begun. 3 weeks before the events that would shake her community, she welcomed her daughter, Aislinn, into the world. Ikea embraced motherhood with immense happiness, looking forward to nurturing this new life. The community's concern and care after the tragedy extended to baby Aislinn, with acts of generosity and a fundraising effort to support the infant now left without her mother. Here was a young woman with undeniable talent, clear dreams for the future, a supportive family network, and the profound, pure joy of a new...
I don't know if she was really had any dreams for her future, because if she had any dreams, she would still be here. Okay, I think what's going on is that people just say these things to make people feel good, but they don't want to bring the truth behind this young girl, how it was leading to that type of behavior. She's doing splits, and I mean, it's okay to work out when you're pregnant. Your body's still flexible, it's young, and it can do all of those things. But you got to understand that she was just doing, I mean, a little bit too much to this baby. But this baby was already in her womb. All the activities she had going on around her. You have to be very careful, because everything going on in that womb, that child is taking it in. And I pray that the baby does have a healthy and good life. Because people will, let me tell you, people are very funnel. Frickle. I'll say frickle. They'll beat you 1 minute. As soon as that baby comes, that mother, you're on your own. You're on your bone. Let's go on.
Child. Yet positioned against this bright life was a complicating factor: her relationship with Trevor Wright. It was a connection that spanned 2 years, marked by its inconsistent nature, an on-again, off-again dynamic that held hidden challenges, tensions that would ultimately intersect with her life in the most devastating way. It feels profoundly unfair that a life so full of light could face such a tragic end.
Good morning, Angelica.
We often see young people with so much potential, juggling school, activities, family, and relationships. I think Ikea deserves a purple love emoji in the comments, appreciating her resilience at a young age. Can you relate to the challenges young adults face today? Or perhaps reflect on the complexities of relationships at that age? Have you ever known someone whose focus shifted, or whose energy seemed dimmed by a difficult partnership? Understanding the richness of Ikea's life helps us truly grasp the magnitude of what was lost, and highlights how crucial it is to be aware of the struggles others might be facing beneath the surface. Sharing this story might encourage someone to recognize a challenging situation in their own life, or the life of a friend. Opposite Ikea's path stood Trevon Wright, a rising Dallas artist, also 17 years old, when this story reached its tragic point in January 2024. I'm on my mind, I'm turned up, yeah, I'm in this bitch. They let me out, you know I'm turned up, yeah, I'm really in this bitch. Felt like them trying to cut us in, yeah, hold on, red band, yeah, hold on, Susan's red, yeah, hold on. His journey had taken a different turn.
Already he's influenced by the streets. His rap music, sticking up your middle finger, all that wild, crazy noise they got going on behind them. Already these young people don't have no direction. They have no clue of what they're doing. There's no guidance, or there's no proper guidance. They just dropped off here and try to figure it out on their own. And that's sad. This is really sad. This young man, and I'm going to tell you right now, not going to be in that prison too long for what he did. I already know that. That the Lord is going to be in favor of him for unaliving this young, innocent teenager. Well, I wouldn't say she was innocent, but they gonna show more favor in the Lord and not hold this young man accountable. They gonna arrest him. They gonna give him a court date. I don't know if they went to court yet because this happened around in January of this year, early January or sometime around January or whatever this is supposed to had happened. But we'll find out.
He had withdrawn from Lancaster High School before completing his studies. Elements within his background hinted at involvement in challenging situations. For approximately 2 years, Ikea and Trevon were connected in a dating relationship, but it lacked consistency. It was a pattern of coming together and separating, a dynamic that often signals underlying issues and instability. However, the difficulties between them were far more severe than simple inconsistency. Their relationship held a documented history of domestic violence.
Want to send a message to other victims of domestic violence.
My best advice is to leave, talk to somebody, get help.
After the devastating events, Ikea's sister spoke out with a powerful plea, urging others who are experiencing abuse in their relationships to seek help and find a way to leave. A stark message highlighting the reality her sister endured. Evidence presented later during the trial included angry and controlling messages Trevon sent to Ikea in the months leading up to her death. Testimony also detailed prior incidents of physical abuse within their connection. This wasn't just a troubled young relationship, it was a pattern of escalating control and dangerous behavior. A significant and immediate catalyst arrived with the results of a paternity test. After believing he was the father of Ikea's newborn daughter, the test confirmed he was not baby Iceland's biological father. This revelation created a critical turning point. The families had reportedly met just days before, discussing the test results and seemingly arriving at an understanding. Yet, despite this discussion, the underlying tensions remained. Ikea, while reportedly heartbroken by the news, still wished for Trevon to have a role in their daughter's life and had allowed him to visit. Ikea planned to share the paternity test results with Trevon herself on Sunday, January 7th. That morning, he was at her home on Grambling Drive. This was the volatile situation, a relationship marked by a clear and escalating history of control and domestic abuse, combined with a shocking truth about paternity set to be delivered. A recent conversation between families suggested resolution, but the dangerous dynamic between Ikea and Trevon remained unresolved. All these elements converged that Sunday morning, setting the stage for the unimaginable events that were about to unfold in Ikea's bedroom. I know you must be thinking, if Trevon wasn't the father, then who was? It might prompt you to make some unsettling comments or to judge her, but we urge you to be respectful for the sake of her daughter, who will grow up tomorrow to see this video and read the comments. For her family who is grieving. Let's focus on learning the lesson and spreading awareness about people violence, thereby making sure we work together to ameliorate or prevent these tragedies. Understanding the history of Ikea's relationship with Trevon, seeing the pattern of control and violence is essential to understanding the tragedy. It forces us to think about how seemingly private struggles can escalate to such a public, devastating conclusion. Have you ever observed relationships where one person seems to exert control over the other, or where conflict seems constant? Do you believe it's clear to young adults how to identify and safely navigate relationships that are becoming unhealthy or dangerous? Recognizing these indicators is critically important knowledge. By your thoughts on the importance of teaching healthy relationship skills are welcome. Please share them in the comments.
It's not good to play with emotions. This is the whole point. Do not play with someone's emotions. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. And me, myself, I don't think that these young people should have had to handle this by themselves. There should have been some adult supervision. There should have been some adults that could have sat down in counseling with these young adults, with these young people. This child was still a junior in high school. She was still a baby. So was the young man. These were two babies. Where were the adults? Let's go on.
Below. Sunday, January 7th, 2024. The day began quietly at Ikea's home on Grambling Drive. Trevon Wright was present. Earlier that morning, Ikea's mother, Takoya Lester, had seen them together in Ikea's bedroom, with baby Iceland just inches away. From her viewpoint, they seemed settled, behaving without obvious distress. A seemingly calm start to the day. But the peace wouldn't last. Just past 10:30 a.m., a violent sound tore through the stillness of the house. A loud, sharp noise. The sound came from Ikea's bedroom. Why would Trevon come to her home with a gun tucked in somewhere? Did he have the intention of carrying out this heinous crime all along? Miss Lester's reaction was immediate and propelled by a mother's instinct. She rushed towards her daughter's room. The door was closed. She tried to open it. It was locked from the inside. A growing wave of fear began to rise. She called out to Ikea. She knocked. Then she banged on the door, harder and harder, her urgency mounting. Silence met her from within the room. Desperation took hold. Miss Lester ran outside the house. She looked up at Ikea's bedroom window. It was open. The screen was no longer in place, pushed outward. She climbed up and looked inside. The sight that met her eyes was devastating. Her daughter Ikea was in her bed, suffering a terrible injury from a gunshot. She was gone. In the same bed, just feet away, lay 3-week-old baby Iceland, sleeping peacefully, utterly unaware of the horror that had just unfolded beside her. Paramedics arrived swiftly, confirming the unthinkable. Ikea Hood had died from the injury, a gunshot to the back of the head. Trevon Wright was not in the room when Miss Lester made her discovery. He had fled through that open window, leaving one of his shoes behind in his haste. Investigators would later find his fingerprints on the window, evidence of his exit. After leaving the house, cell phone records showed he met with a friend, and then soon after, his phone was turned off. Clear actions taken to evade any attempt to find him. In mere moments, a family home became the scene of an unimaginable crime. A mother had found her child's life brutally ended, her infant granddaughter present for the horror. And the person responsible had vanished into the quiet Sunday morning. With a young life tragically lost and a baby orphaned by violence, the immediate and urgent focus of authorities and the community shifted entirely. They had to find the person who was no longer there. It's hard to comprehend how quickly ordinary moments can be shattered by violence. Can you imagine that feeling of rising panic when you can't reach someone you know should be just on the other side of a locked door? Think about the bravery and terror experienced by Ikea's mother in that moment. What was going through Trevon Wright's mind as he fled? And what will baby Iceland's future hold, shaped by a tragedy she cannot remember?
A young mother is dead, and right now family and students are coming together at Lancaster High School to remember Ikea Hood. Steve Pickett live for us outside the school. Steve, what can you tell us?
Well, the heartbreak here that has impacted this community, folks wanting to support this young woman who was killed, only 17 years of age. You can see all of those who have responded here to this location, bringing posters, bringing balloons, all in support of this victim. And by the way, her baby girl, this 17-year-old, was a mother who was killed in all of this. This appears to be a case of deadly domestic violence, and everyone here is here to show support for that victim. Her former boyfriend, we're told, now accused of killing her. Now, this is the victim. Her name is Ikea Wood. She's 17 years of age. She died on Monday after being shot while inside her far southwest Dallas house. This happened on Monday. Lancaster School District officials telling us Miss Ikea Hood, she was a very popular student here. We can see it manifested by so many here today, involved in the school's dance and drill team. She was also a young mother, giving birth birth to a baby girl very recently. Now, an arrest warrant for murder. It identifies this young man, 19 years of age. His name is Trayvon Wright, now the accused killer. He is a former boyfriend. The affidavit that we saw today indicates Ikea had planned on telling Trayvon Wright that he was not the father of her newborn baby girl. Now, the victim's mother told detectives, based on what we saw in that affidavit, that Mr. Wright was in their home when she heard gunfire.
With the immediate horror of the crime scene came the urgent need for action. The search for Trayvon Wright began instantly. The day after the shooting, an arrest warrant for murder was issued. The U.S. Marshals Task Force joined the effort, highlighting the serious nature of the case and the determination to locate him swiftly. Their coordinated work led to his apprehension on Tuesday morning. Following his arrest, Wright was taken into custody and booked into the Dallas County Jail. The court set his bond at $500,000, reflecting the gravity of the
$500,000. $500,000. $500,000. Okay? Right there, by the way they set his bond, and half out of that $500,000 for him to get out, somebody to bond him out, he was given bond. And guess what? Out of that $500,000, all he's going to need for his bond is $50,000. And I'm sure the family was able to raise that money to get him out of for that $50,000. Maybe his mom, dad, or somebody got some money that they put their property up for bond to get this young man out. Maybe his family affiliated with a church, community, or some kind of organization that was able to raise the money to give this young man that $50,000 bond. Okay, here we go.
charge against him. The wheels of justice turned, moving towards a courtroom confrontation approximately 1 year later. In January 2025, the trial began. Inside, the focus shifted from the immediate search for a suspect to a detailed examination of the events of that Sunday morning and the history that had led to it. Central to the prosecution's case was the powerful testimony of Ikea's mother, Takoya Lester, reliving the most agonizing moments of her life.
Something. I just got to keep it real, y'all. I just got to keep it real. Why would you allow these young adults, these children in your home and let this boy to go in your daughter's bedroom without you there to supervise? Why would you allow this young man in your daughter's bedroom with the door closed? You see the recklessness of some people? He wouldn't have not been in my daughter's bedroom, regardless to the fact that they have a baby together. They would have had to sit down in that living room together with me. And I have to be there to hear this conversation. Or he would have had to come with his parents. So we all can sit down and, have this conversation. That's how it was in the back in the days. We didn't let young people handle these situations on their own because we know what it can lead to. And as an adult, you have to be able to say, look, I know y'all always fighting. Y'all already heard that they had a volatile relationship. It was an on and off thing. They would break up, they'll get back together. They had a lot of violence and a lot of heated argument, combative. There was a lot of violence, and there was all kind of things that happened between her and this young man. And they both were doing it because they both young. This is what when they don't get no supervision, this is what it leads up to. Now, if mom was like, look, I don't want you here without your mother. Bring your parents back with you so we all can sit down in the dining room or in the living room or whatever and have this conversation. But I would have never allowed my teenage child to be in the bedroom with a young man. And especially when you know how these young people think today. They show no value to life. Any little thing gets them upset, they ready to unalive someone. They have no fear in them of doing anything that is dangerous. They this is how they live today because nobody's telling them setting any boundaries for them or giving them any guidance. So let's go on and listen to the video.
She recounted discovering her daughter and identified the specific window she had climbed through in her desperate attempt to reach Ikea. Her words conveyed the profound depth of her loss and the terror of that discovery. Trevon Wright offered his account of what happened. His defense contended that the shooting was accidental. He claimed he had brought the gun to Ikea's home with the intention of using it to harm himself, and that the weapon discharged unintentionally during a struggle with Ikea. However, the prosecution presented substantial evidence that directly challenged Wright's defense claim and painted a very different picture. The physical evidence from the scene was critical. The location of the gunshot wound, in the back of the head, fundamentally contradicted the idea of an accidental firing during a struggle. Evidence was also shown of the history between Ikea and Trevon, including angry and controlling messages Wright had sent to Ikea in the months before her passing, demonstrating a pattern of behavior within the relationship. Testimony detailed prior incidents of abuse within their connection, providing further context to the escalating danger. The jury also received information about Wright's background, including his affiliation with a gang and a previous conviction for robbery, offering insight into his history of problematic actions. Perhaps most compelling were the jail phone calls Wright made after his arrest. In these calls, he displayed a striking absence of remorse, seeking phone numbers for other girls, and even casually discussing how the murder charge might somehow benefit his aspirations for his rap music career.
Let me tell you, my nephew, the one who's now in his grave, he used to be very, very disrespectful to females. Okay, he was in a relationship with a nice young lady. And one time he decided he was going to put his hands on this girl. Okay? And I said to him when he called me up, when his little ass was locked up, I said, you need to sit there and think about it for a while. Because I'm not going to support your evil. I don't support you ever putting your hands on any female. If you and this female don't seem to get along and y'all can't have a civil conversation, y'all can't sit down and be adults and have a conversation, or you just can't walk away, I'm not going to get you out of no trouble. You're going to stay right there until you think about what you did so you don't do it again. I said, leave her alone. Move on with your life. Move on with your life. Okay? He had to get somebody else to help him out with that bill because I wasn't helping him out with none of that. Because he's going to stay right there. And she, like a fool, go and pay for his bail after he don't blacken her eye. So I said, okay, that's what she asked for. See, these young girls, oh, come on now. Here he come. You know, this is annoying. Give me a second, y'all. It's going to ring for a while. I'm going to have to tell them they're going to have to try me again some other time because I am right now on the phone. Oh boy, I wish these people would not keep calling on my phone when I'm trying to. This is so annoying. This is why I had them cancel it before. I just sent them a what you call it. Please don't call my phone again. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all, for that interruption that was going on. That's my they calling me on WhatsApp so I can join them in the conversation that we're supposed to be doing this morning for Sunday. I told them call me back later because I am right now doing something and I will join you later. But anyway, let's go on and listen to the rest of this video.
The jury was tasked with weighing two starkly contrasting narratives. Wright's shooting stood against the significant evidence presented by the prosecution. A history of control and abuse, the undeniable physical evidence contradicting his story, his actions immediately following the crime, and his chilling lack of remorse captured in his own words. Given the clear and compelling evidence presented, how could anyone truly accept the argument that this was an accident? The contrast highlighted the vast difference between an attempt to minimize responsibility and the reality of what had occurred. Throughout the trial, Ikea's family demonstrated incredible strength, providing emotional testimony about the devastating impact of her loss. They also shared the reality of their lives now centered around caring for baby Iselin, fighting for her future in the wake of this tragedy. The legal process, while challenging, is where accountability is sought for unimaginable acts. Have you ever considered how a jury processes such emotionally charged testimony and conflicting accounts to reach a verdict? Can you relate to the idea that someone's actions immediately following an event might reveal more about their intent than what they say later? Think about the immense courage it must have taken for Ikea's mother and family to testify, reliving their pain for the sake of truth and justice. And consider the coldness revealed in Trevon Wright's jail calls. What does that suggest about the presence or absence of genuine remorse? This section of the story underscores the absolute importance of evidence and truth in the pursuit of justice. Accountability in cases like this is vital. Sharing this story can help others understand the legal process that follows such crimes and the critical role of bringing evidence to light.
And as one expert tells Keenan Willard, her mother's testimony today could be key in court.
And today, multiple family members of Ikea Hood took the stand here, breaking down as they described what they found at the scene moments after her death. Today, some experts tell us that emotional testimony could play a big role in this trial. In front of a Dallas judge today, Takoya Lester described the moment she found her daughter dead in her bedroom.
Me, let this be a lesson learned, Mom. Let this be that God is giving you another chance. Whatever's left of Ikea is that baby little girl that she had left behind. Let it be a lesson to learn how to be more of a parent instead of trying to be a friend, instead of trying give them guidance, and especially try to give them the moderation of the Lord, a foundation in that. Let that be the lesson to be learned behind this. God has given you at least another chance to raise another little girl, and this time do it right. Because you messed Akia's life up. She was going to continue a path, if she was continue to live, to play these little manipulative games, playing on emotions and feelings. And this would have also been the end of her life. Because there was no one trying to tell Ikea that when you lay down with a boy or boys, didn't teach her anything about protecting herself and her body. And not to be using her body as a commodity. She should have been more focused on her education. This girl wasn't even out of high school. She was still in high school, like a typical teenager, on some drill team, shaking her little booty, cocking her legs. Okay, she was down that path. And it was cut short. But thank God the baby is still here. So that could give the family another chance. I'm not going to sit here and boo-hoo ha with you. Because this all couldn't have never happened if you were to do your job as a parent. It's the mother of the young man's mother as well.
Window and I touched the baby and I grabbed her hair on it. I couldn't see all of that. On January 7th last year, police say 17-year-old Ikea Hood was shot and killed in her family's home on Grambling Drive. Hood was shot feet away from her 3-week-old baby girl, her first child. Family says Hood was a junior at Lancaster High School and a member of the Tigerette drill.
A junior. She wasn't even a senior in high school. She was still a junior. She was a baby. She was a baby. And you see, sometimes when you try to talk to some of these parents before things happen, and I get attacked all the time. Okay? I get attacked all the time, not only just from the parents, but from the stupid educators out here too. You can't save people that don't want to be saved. This is how they want to live. And these will be the results. When you try to teach them, or you mind your business, this is my child. Do you got any kids? They ready to cuss you out and whatever. So sometimes, this is what they got to go through. This ain't your first rodeo. You have another big teenage or adult daughter, and y'all let Ikea do just what Ikea want to do. Nobody want to take fault. Y'all want to put it all on this young man for him having to deal with this emotional humility. Like he is the only one at fault here. He might have been the one to pull the trigger, but y'all led her to her death. But in the sight of God, that's what y'all did. That's what her family did. That's what her mother did. Y'all led her to her death because y'all did not try to recognize the danger that was ahead. Y'all was too busy cheering her on like this was so cute, giving her baby showers and these identity parties, gender parties and stuff. Instead of saying, no, we ain't going to do that, Ikea. We not celebrating you getting yourself in trouble with a child. You haven't even finished school yet. What do you possibly have to offer this baby life when you ain't even got it for yourself? You should have sat down and had that conversation with your daughter. Not saying you should have aborted the child. No, I don't agree with that either. But I think that y'all should have had this conversation before it led up to this. Of recognizing the danger. Blaming that young man to be the father and then going to put it in his face and play games with his emotions like that. This has been demonstrated time and time before to other young people who played these games and won stupid prizes.
Team. U.S. Marshals arrested Trayvon Wright, who was also 17 at the time. The family says Wright and Hood had been dating, but broke things off after Hood discovered Wright wasn't the father of her baby. In an arrest affidavit, Lester says Wright was at her home visiting Hood and the baby when a gunshot sounded from Hood's bedroom. Lester says the door was locked, so she went outside and climbed halfway through the window, finding Wright gone and her daughter unmoving.
I rolled her over. She was laying on her side. I rolled her over.
Wright was charged with first-degree murder. In defending him today, Wright's attorney argued that no one saw his client pull the trigger.
You're trying to figure it out because you were not in the room when the gun discharged, correct?
Correct.
NBC5 spoke with a trial expert not involved in the case who tells us the emotional testimony from Hood's family could significantly impact jurors.
I can tell you that when a particularly sympathetic victim or family member of a victim testifies, it can sway jurors to go in a direction they might otherwise not go in. That absolutely is the case.
For the victim's family, a difficult process of wading through one of the worst days of their lives.
Yes, I'm having to relive this all over again.
Keenan Willard, NBC5.
After days of powerful testimony and the presentation of evidence, the waiting came to an end. On Friday, January 17th, 2025, the jury reached their decision. They found Trevon Wright guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Ikea Hood. The conviction resulted in a mandatory sentence. Trevon Wright was sentenced to life in prison, a punishment that aligns with the extreme severity of the crime he committed. According to reports from the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, the jury clearly recognized that Wright's claim of an accidental shooting during a struggle was not credible. The undeniable strength of the evidence presented during the trial, from the history of his controlling behavior and prior abuse to the physical evidence of the wound, his actions immediately after the crime, and his unsettling lack of remorse, captured in his own words, spoke louder than his defense. The jury delivered their verdict swiftly, reflecting their decisive conclusion. Trevon even released visuals to one of his music after the sentencing while in jail, confirming the fact that he feels no remorse for his actions and still sees it as an opportunity to grow his music career. What do you think? Kindly leave one word for Trevon in the comments. The guilty verdict and life sentence provided a measure of accountability for Trevon Wright's actions. For Ikea Hood's family, it meant that the person who took her life would face consequences within the legal system. But while the legal process concluded, true closure is a complex and deeply personal journey. No verdict, no sentence can ever bring back the young woman who was lost. A life full of potential, dreams, and new motherhood was tragically ended, leaving a profound void that can never be filled. This outcome fundamentally underscores a critical life lesson woven throughout Ikea's story: the devastating consequences that can arise from unchecked control and domestic violence in relationships. The evidence presented during the trial, showing a pattern of abusive behavior preceding the murder, highlights just how important it is to recognize these signs. These are not simply difficulties in a relationship. They are indicators of escalating danger. Ikea's case serves as a stark and heartbreaking reminder that taking these signs seriously, seeking help from trusted individuals or resources, and finding safety are not just recommendations, but potentially life-saving steps. Reaching a verdict after a long and difficult legal fight can bring a form of resolution, yet it's often intertwined with ongoing pain and grief. Can you relate to that feeling of finality, or perhaps the lack of it, after a challenging situation has concluded? The justice system delivered its verdict, but what about the emotional verdict that Ikea's family must carry every single day? What does a sentence like life in prison truly represent in the face of a life that is gone forever? This outcome is a powerful reminder of why understanding these tragedies and the factors contributing to them is essential. In the wake of such a profound loss, the community of Lancaster and Dallas came together to grieve and support. Lancaster High School, where Ikea was a well-loved student, quickly provided extra counselors for students and staff grappling with the tragedy, ensuring resources were available during a difficult time. The community held public events to honor Ikea's memory. A balloon release at the high school brought together friends and family to share memories and remember the spirit she embodied. Funeral services and a burial followed, allowing those who knew her to say their final goodbyes and celebrate the life she lived. Amidst their immense grief, Ikea's family found strength and purpose. They chose to channel their pain into advocating against domestic violence, driven by a determination to help prevent similar tragedies from shattering other lives. Ikea's sister, Halia Williams, spoke publicly, delivering a heartfelt plea for victims of domestic abuse to seek help and find safety. A direct call to action born from their family's devastating experience. Supported by their faith, the family focused on the future, particularly on raising baby Iselin. Community generosity, seen in donations at memorials, showed a collective desire to support Ikea's child and ensure she was cared for. Baby Iselin, too young to understand the horror she was near that day, will grow up without the love and guidance of her mother. The most enduring and heartbreaking consequence of the violence committed that morning is felt by her. This tragedy has left a profound and lasting void in her life, a future forever changed by the actions of Trevon Wright. Our thoughts and prayers are with Ikea Hood's daughter and family. May you find strength and joy in the love and moments she shared. Yet Ikea's story is not solely defined by how she died. It is deeply rooted in how she lived. It is about her energy, her dreams of dance, her love for her family, and her joy in becoming a mother. Her legacy endures, not only through her precious daughter, but powerfully through her family's tireless efforts to warn others about the dangers she faced. This case, heartbreaking as it is, serves as a critical reminder. Recognizing the signs of control and abuse in relationships, understanding that these situations can escalate, and knowing where and how to seek help are vital lessons for everyone. These actions hold the potential to save lives and prevent future tragedies. The goal in sharing stories like Ikea's is to educate, empower, and protect. Can you think of someone in your life, perhaps a young person, who might benefit from understanding the dynamics of healthy versus unhealthy relationships? What role do we, as a community, play in creating environments where people feel safe to speak out or seek help without fear? By sharing this story, you become an active part of the effort to raise awareness about teen dating violence and domestic abuse, potentially reaching someone who desperately needs to hear this message. Please share this video widely across your social platforms. Your respectful thoughts on Ikea's lasting legacy, the importance of family support, or the ongoing fight against domestic violence are important and valued. Please share them in the comments below. And if you want to see more true crime...
Okay, that's the end of Ikea Hood's story. To recognize the signs of domestic violence and how it can lead to a short-lived life. Now, as far as how I feel, I believe that God allowed things to happen to get your attention, whether you recognize that God is in it or not. Because that young man didn't have any guidance. He didn't even show any remorse for what he did, because maybe he was never taught how to control his emotions. And if you never taught, then you just don't know how. And I believe God is going to show grace on him, grace and mercy, because that life sentence ain't going to stick for what he did, because he didn't know what he did. But from this experience, he's going to learn what he did was wrong, to take her life instead of just walking away and taking the humiliation. As for Ikea, we cannot bring her back. We're not going to be able to bring her back, but she can live on through her daughter in correcting her path on the right way she should go, and giving her guidance and making sure she doesn't follow the same route as her mother did. That she will be able to also show herself in a different light for her family. That she can lead them into the path of righteousness or in the path of the light. Because that's sometimes what God does. Because she was very young. She was only 3 weeks old into this world before her mother life ended. But she's going to have some connection to her mother. She's going to have to fight with those demons. It's going to be a struggle, but God going to get, if long as she gets connected to the Word of God in her life and get a foundation of it, she be all right. To lead the auntie, the mother, the uncle, or whoever, because it seems like it's generational to me. Because this mother looks very young. Ikea's mother looked like a young mother, that she started very young too on this path of having children at a young age. Because the daughter, the other daughter that's supposed to be, I don't know if that's the same sister from the same mother, or from the different sister from a different father, from the father side. I don't know how the family is going. But the sister that seems to be, talking in this video and saying about domestic violence and how she wants to lead people to get out of relationships with men with domestic violence. But then you got to be careful with people with these kind of organizations as well, because then they teach women to be vigilantium behavior. Okay? Because it's that LGBTQ stuff. And something about her seem a little bit like on that side to me. Like they going to grow up to teach women to hate men, that all men are evil, and they just, twist their mind to believe to go after a man and destroy his life or kill him or whatever. So you got to be very careful how you follow these domestic violence organizations because it becomes domestic violence, because we have also seen what these things lead up to. The best way I can tell you that this stuff should help young adults and with young teenage pregnancies is teaching them their path and giving them a biblical foundation in the Lord. As they go through life and growing up, Proverbs is the best, for young people, especially for young men. Especially for young men. So, with that being said, y'all, your girl Casey McDaniel, I'm out. So you all have a blessed Sunday, and if God's willing, I may or may not come back with you later on this afternoon, depending on how things are going. So you all be safe, and always remember, continue to keep God the head of your life, so you be ready when the adversary attacks. So with that being said, God bless you, I love you, and peace.